if you can't tell what I'm doing, I'm trying to be Edward Scissorhands and do my own hair because is it a sin to want to look good, to look handsome, pretty, whatever gendered term you prefer? No, not really. Hi, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates podcast, and if you weren't here before, this is a podcast in which you can call and debate at any time you want, or, you can write in for it. And today, we're going to go into why it's not a sin to want to look good. Last time we were not on call, last time I was live streaming, I was discussing more into why motivational videos just do not work. I'm going to preface this video by saying that I'm going to talk about body image and, like a brief mention of eating disorders and whatnot. If any of those distress you, please click out so that you don't get distressed. You can click into one of my old videos. One of my videos just posted today. I believe it was my video on parasocial relationships and how it's all just a reflection. We're going to go into what exactly I mean when I say it's not a sin to want to look attractive overall. The overall negatives of being perceived as unattractive or not conventionally attractive. The positives of looking conventionally attractive. And then having a healthier relationship with one's appearance and how to keep that up long term, and why it's so controversial in the first place to even address this topic and want to look good. Starting off, what do I mean when I say it's not a sin to want to look attractive? I preface this by saying that I think that there are several different types of beauty, and whenever I'm saying it's not a sin to want to look attractive, I'm not saying that you have to want to look conventionally attractive. I don't want this to be perceived as I'm being judgmental towards people who are not considered conventionally attractive. When I'm talking about there's nothing wrong with wanting to be attractive, I'm saying there's nothing wrong with looking in a mirror and liking what you see and wanting to do things that you feel improve your appearance. I don't think you necessarily have to be let's say you're a man and you don't have to be super buff or whatever to fit that. I've already talked about gym bros a lot on my channel already, but you don't have to be really buff to be attractive or whatever if you're a dude. And when I say there's nothing wrong with wanting to be attractive, that's not saying oh yeah, every guy or every girl should want to be this gym bro or should want to be a model, really skinny, that type of thing. That's not what I mean when I say it's not a sin to want to be attractive. But one point I want to bring up is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm not citing that in my sources, as that's something everyone learned in the public school system. And if you didn't, you can Google it. But the Maslow hierarchy of needs, there's social bonding and wanting to get a partner, wanting to love, whether that be platonic or romantic and whatnot. That is a need. And again, I don't think it should be to an unhealthy level of I need to do this, I need to do my skincare for 3 hours a day. I saw where somebody was doing their skincare for 3 hours every day, and I just said, it's about my same opinion when it comes to marathons, because I'm just that's so many hours, that's the only thing in life you can get back, and you chose to put a ton of goo on your face for 3 hours and you can't do anything else. Which how do you even take 3 hours to do skincare? I don't really do skincare, which I know that'll probably make some dermatologists be are you kidding me? Or I just it's never really been a problem for me if I didn't do skincare or not, and I've never had to suffer the consequences of not having it, so I'm not doing it. I know that's rich for a video where it's it's okay to want to look good. So when I say it's not a sin to want to look good, I don't think it should be obsessive or anything like that. And I also don't think it should take that much time out of your day regarding your looks. But generally wanting to look good and taking care of yourself, I would say simple skincare, even though I don't do it. Okay, I can understand maybe 7 hours out of your week regarding your physical appearance. But anything past that's pushing it. That's why? I'm not talking about Botox. I'm not talking about injections. I'm not talking about surgeries. Because I've talked about, the different conventional, unconventional. Now I'm also talking about the artificial as well. I'm not talking about artificial when I say it's not a sin to want to look good. Now, am I saying it's a sin to want those things? Also, no. I think it's a slippery slope. Because I definitely think if you're, willing to... How do I word this? If you are willing to alter your body to a point in which you're going under for surgery, and it's not a medical issue, and you're spending almost a down payment on a house on it, I'm a little concerned. I mean, at least you're financially well off. I don't understand why anyone would do that if they're not at least financially secure. But at least you're financially secure. I'll give you that for number one. Number two, I'm very concerned in why you're not happy with what you have. I don't know. I can understand. I'm not judging. I'm just concerned. That's my opinion on Botox and surgeries and implants and everything. When I say look good, like I said, you look in the mirror and you like what you see, and you're not hurting yourself to see what you see, and you're at least having basic hygiene, and you're doing basic things regarding your appearance. There's nothing, it's not a sin to want to do that. And it's not because I know there's always, if you as an individual prioritize that, sometimes you'll get the interactions with other individuals who think you're better than them just because you look like that, or just because you even try a little bit to look better, or that you even value not your looks, but value how you perceive yourself. I think it's important to have a healthy amount of self-confidence within yourself. Obviously, I don't think it's good to think you're God. I'm not, I don't think it's healthy to go up and be like, I'm God! I told you, I'm God! Is that what Kanye said? I can't remember. Now I'm gonna go into some of the negatives of being perceived as unattractive in society, unfortunately. And when I say these, I don't mean it as in if you are perceived as generally unattractive, this is how you will always be treated, or that any individual who is treated this way deserves it, because I don't believe that. You should not be treated differently just because of how you look. In regards to any matter, you shouldn't be treated differently because you're a different race, different gender, sexuality, etc., etc. People should be treated equally based off of, who they are as an individual, not their appearance. But unfortunately, the world does work a little bit differently than just the theory of how it should be, and it's very unfortunate. As I do with every single one of my YouTube videos or my streams in which I use references, you can check my YouTube video whenever it comes out later on, and it will have all the references that I used within this video. From Today, they found that unattractive people were paid less, judged as less intelligent, and receive less attention in most facets of life. Although in an ideal world, everyone would be treated equally, in order for concrete change, or in order for you to move through that world most effectively, you have to accept what it is at that point, while also keeping the ideals that you have in mind and moving forward with those instead. Shout out Albert Camus, but except idealism instead of absurdity. So while we cannot change the world when it comes to how other people perceive you and how you move through it and how you identify yourself or even show yourself to people, I think you do have the ability to hold on to your ideals while also doing what is most beneficial for yourself to be able to be perceived in the way that would help you. I think as long as you're like healthy, like you're not letting your health go to the wayside just because, I don't know, you just don't want to. I think as long as you're healthy, it doesn't and it's not mentally affecting you. As long as you can be honest with yourself, it's not affecting your health and it's not mentally affecting you, I don't see the harm in it. So, like I was talking about earlier, it can even affect your mental state. So in regards to the negative effects of being perceived as unattractive, the study also found that specifically participants evaluated attractive crowds containing more happy expressions faster and more accurately. And the same was true for unattractive crowds dominated by angry expressions, which corroborates the evaluate congruence account. Moreover, attractive crowds were judged as being happy more often, whereas unattractive crowds were perceived as being angry more frequently. So, even if you are unattractive, or at least perceived as unattractive, you're perceived to be more angry than happy individuals. And I would say, I don't like to get into the details of my life, but I've had eras in which I definitely did not look great, which I think everyone does. I would say during a period of time in my life in which I wasn't the best, or at least I didn't care. And again, it's not a bad thing to not care about it. And during that time of my life, I went to the store. Oh God. Okay. I went to the store one time, and this is when I didn't think I was perceived as attractive or anything. And so I went to the store, and I went to go and get some drinks and a shirt. I just got some soda and a shirt. And I usually did because I really like soda, and I was walking out of the store, and I was heading to my car, and when I got to my car, on my way to my car, this random old lady out of nowhere just looked at me and was like, "Oh, you look like you want to fight, don't ya?" I was just like, "Why are you Irish?" Joking. But she was just like, "Oh, you wanna get in a fight, don't ya?" And I was just like, "No, I just got soda." And she just looked at me as if she didn't believe me. And I was just like, this is just my face. So either that means I indeed did not look good back then, or that I just have a resting, angry face. It could be either or. I don't know. Using her logic, let's say I was angry. If I was walking home, or not walking home, if I was walking to the store in the middle of the night and then I saw somebody that was taller than me and I thought was angry, I'm really gonna go up to them and be like, "Oh, you're looking for a fight, aren't you? You're looking a little angry all night." Who's doing that? I'm not doing that. That woman had the survival skills of a walnut. If I was angry, why would you go up to me? And I know me saying that, caring about your physical appearance and, oh yeah, it's fine to, want to look good. I don't think it's good to tell people, you need to care about your physical health. And not your physical health. I mean, they should care about their physical health. But, you should care about your appearance and whether or not you look pretty. I think the problem is whenever you put your own expectations onto other people for yourself, even though you're not them. They could very well have very different experiences. They could have a different BMI, different X, Y, and Z thing going on that has nothing to do with you, and like that doesn't mean they're not pretty or handsome. Like that doesn't mean anything. But I think that's a problem. If you are not opposing, that's going against. If you are opposing their looks, just imagine you're going up to somebody and you're just like, yeah. That right there. Hold on, I can't do the little hunch. Like, imagine you have that lady from The Incredibles, just her little feet pattering. Oh, darling, that looks terrible. What are you doing? Absolutely not. Twirl. Oh, that's about as bad as your bank account's gonna go down after I get this new not shoot for you. Yes, Edna Mode has a gun. I think it's great to like want to look good for yourself and like what you see in the mirror. But adding your opinion on like that when it's not even asked for. I can understand maybe if it's prompted to be like, do I look good in this? Does this shirt look good on me? Do these pants look good on me? Does this suit? Does this dress? That would make sense. But unsolicited advice on someone's appearance is unnecessary and rude. Alright, what are the positives of being perceived as attractive in modern society? Now, I've already gone into some of like the negatives of it. So obviously the negatives of, oh yeah, you're not going to be perceived as intelligent, you know, you're going to be perceived as angry, like all the bad things that I've already mentioned, essentially the opposite of them. You're going to be considered more intelligent, you're going to be given more attention, you're going to be perceived as just more happy overall, along with you're going to get paid more if you're intelligent, which is really terrible. You would think, oh yeah, the person who's like helped the company for 40 years and has this many sales, I'm sure it's not as ridiculous of a thing where it's like, oh yeah, Tom's been here for 5 years, and meanwhile Jenny's been here for 40 years. I would say it's more along the lines of like, if someone who is, let's say they have 5 years of experience and the other person also has 5 years of experience, the one that's likely to get paid more is the one that's more attractive given the experience. Those are just some of the positives if you are perceived as generally, you know, attractive in society. And it's unfortunate that that is the case, but it is. This is a different study, and this one is from the Journal of Happiness. They found that attractive people were more at ease, more assertive, and more likely to think they are in control of their lives than individuals who perceive themselves as less attractive. Along with these findings, they found that being attractive led to more positive mental well-being and a lower risk of depression. So literally being pretty could make you less depressed. And so it's scientifically proven for those moments whenever you're like crying or whatever, or like you're just not having a great time, and then you look up through the like your tear-stridden eyes, gazing up at the ceiling, wondering why you're here and why this would happen to you, and oh my gosh, life is so terrible. And then you turn around and look in the mirror and you think, that's a hot bod. So that's scientifically proven to be true. If you think you're prettier, it helps lower your depression. I do want to say these studies didn't necessarily go into like plastic surgeries as well. It did not go into plastic surgeries. It did not go into the exact to other forms of altering your physical appearance like Botox or other injections. So I don't, if any of those individuals who participated in the study and used those, it's not like that's not like that was spotlighted in the study. And so I want to add that there are some caveats. Besides the earthly benefits, what about yourself? You, who you are. Now, I don't think who people are is just their appearance or anything like that. But I think, therefore, I am. If I don't like that generally being concerned for somebody's health is so demonized. Because let's say someone is a bodybuilder, or let's say they have an eating disorder where they're very restrictive, or they have an eating disorder where they eat a lot. I think in every single one of those cases, it's okay for you to go up to your friend and be like, hey, I'm kind of concerned about you based on your appearance. Obviously, don't word it and be like, hey, you're ugly. That's me. Don't do that. But if somebody is starving themselves, if someone's spending over 4 hours a day on their physical, appearance by being in the gym for that long, or if somebody physically cannot move because of their weight, I think it's valid to be concerned. And I don't like that someone's automatically considered as rude or just tone deaf or whatever for noticing that, hey, you're probably gonna die earlier. It's really rich coming from somebody who doesn't even show their appearance to be able to even talk about this. But I primarily do this for privacy, honestly, and the videos that I make, I don't want my opinions to be attributed to any form of demographic instead of just my opinions as they are. There's a reason that I'm titled Token. I'm a token. That's it. It's just the hypotheticals or the arguments made by an amorphous being. It's not by a person. I am the person behind Token is a person. But this channel, this Twitter account, everything, I wanted the opinions that I had to stand alone by themselves and not be influenced by other factors like appearance. Now, I definitely think it does make a difference that I look like I'm the second coming of death. Not Christ, death. And I'm sure that definitely affects my views a little bit to be like, I don't know who wants this in their feed, but I would much rather keep doing this than because let's say I was really attractive. Not saying I am. Or let's say I was really ugly. Who knows? If I was really attractive and I got viral or whatever, people could be like, oh, well, you just got viral because of your attractiveness. It had nothing to do with any of the, debate videos that you made or any of the points that you made throughout your channel historically or anything funny that you said. It had nothing to do with that, and it was purely due to the fact that you were artificially attractive. Not artificially, you were superficially attractive. Or, let's say, I was unattractive and I got viral or whatever. Then you could also just be known for being unattractive, and it's really unfortunate. But that's not the purpose. I don't really care. It's not how I look is the least important part of this, in my opinion. I also, let's say I was a minority. Let's say I was. I'm not saying I am, but any form of a minority. I also dislike the idea of someone being like, well, you succeeded because you were a minority, or you weren't a minority. I think the iconic scene from Undertale explained it best. And whenever you look in the mirror in the morning, you should see yourself and think, wow, despite everything, it's still you. And that you should be somebody who takes care of you. Because you only get one of you. Anyways, how do you have a healthier relationship with your appearance? Alright, I wanna say again, I am not a professional. I just have a lot of opinions. Alright? Isn't that just the internet, if not anything? But how do you have a healthier relationship with your appearance? And my answer to this is going to be a little bit more of an opinion part, because if you don't like this part, this is going to be more of an opinion part of the piece, but this section is mainly my experience, and maybe if my experience can help you contextualize your experience and have a more positive view of yourself and your attractiveness, then that's the goal. And although I've made jokes that I've been in Cusco's head from the Emperor's New Groove, I am not in your head. I'm never gonna know the experience of what it is to perceive yourself. And honestly, thinking about that makes me go slightly insane. Not like insane, but like, I can barely perceive myself sometimes. The idea of being in another person's body and perceiving their experience sounds insanely stressful. And I don't know. That'd be like, I'm used to my meat casing. I don't want to have to learn the rules and regulations of another one. Regarding gender, I really just don't care. And I've gotten used to my meat sack, and if I had a different meat sack that had a different set of tools, I'd just be like, I got used to the other one. I don't want to have to perceive an entire new set, you know? Although, yes, I don't really show my appearance on the podcast. That doesn't mean I necessarily don't like how I look. I don't really care that much about how I look. I don't like saying that I don't like saying how I perceive myself and whatnot, because again, people can think you're like very full of yourself or anything like that. I don't really care. I don't think insanely negatively about myself, purely for the fact that I don't care about physical appearance. As I said, I've never really particularly cared about gender, overall, throughout my entire life. And ever since I was young, the main thing I really struggled with my appearance and like being okay with it is how other people perceived it. Although I joke about like not liking to perceive myself anymore. It's gotten a lot better since I was younger. Outside of being token, I would say I genuinely have one of the best perceptions of like my appearance than I have in years, or just ever in my life. Which I know that's counterintuitive too. Oh, I dress up once a week to look like nothing. But over the years, my main problem, while again I'm not going to provide the details of my specific gender that I grew up with and whatnot, but I would grow up and I would watch all these people who just were really attached to either gender that they had, you know, if they were a man or a woman or whatever, and I just didn't understand it a lot of the time. I didn't understand why I was expected to do certain behaviors or like certain things, or that I was supposed to dress a certain way just because I was born that way. And I just really didn't care. It genuinely least of my priorities. I always thought I was just like, oh, I just want to go hang out with people. I guess it's still accurate because I'm doing Twitch now, but I'm doing YouTube and whatnot now, but that was always the least of my concerns. I always struggled more with whenever other people put their expectations onto me and my gender and how I was perceived in this world, regardless of gender, like appearance. I really struggled with, well, you should look like this, or you should do this, or you should yada, 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 yada. And what was really helpful for me was, and whenever I let go of how other people wanted to perceive me or expected me to be, I was much, much happier, and I enjoyed what I saw in the mirror a lot more. And that's why I enjoy even seeing myself as token, because I don't care How many people are going to put themselves online and do this? I mean, there are people who do it every day, but, I am secure within myself to enjoy it. I don't see any harm in it. What am I doing? I'm talking. Literally, what's the difference between me and those people who are at a Disney event? Not a Disney event, but those people who dress up in like Disney costumes. But I also like the idea of being able to be like neutral so that I can fit in anywhere. I like the idea of being a chameleon if I want to be. I like the idea of being able to blend in anywhere. While that doesn't, I know for some people be like, well, I have to have this to be able to like have my identity and to perceive myself and be like attractive and whatnot. This also goes back to my whole thing of like, I don't believe in a very concrete sense of self. I think it's very fluid. I think there's a lot of things in life that are fluid that people who don't want to self-reflect or allow themselves any rigidity in life, they get stuck in things that end up making them very unhappy. That doesn't mean every single person that is rigid is unhappy, because it's not true. There are some people who genuinely enjoy the rigidity of whatever way of life that they choose. If you are really attached to like a gender and their presentation, good on ya. You're different than me. I truly could care less. I would just like to not I like to be able to blend in anywhere. I'm very flexible. And I will briefly touch on my own eating disorder that I experienced. I know a lot of people, whenever they have an eating disorder, it's usually regarding their appearance. I think a lot of mine was, again, more so around the idea I didn't have control over how other people perceived me, and so and also I didn't want to have another form of an addiction. I didn't want to become a drug addict. I didn't want to have a desire to, I don't know, do any hard substances or be an alcoholic. So I also think I just wanted a way to get a dopamine boost, and runner's highs do that. They do. And I'm not condoning that behavior whatsoever, but I'm explaining my reasoning behind it. A lot of other people's are probably around appearance. Mine is control and the perception. Because I can't deal with how other people perceive me, so I don't want to perceive myself, so I'll be in pain. That's what my thought process was. Is it healthy? No. But I'm just providing my experience to maybe help you recontextualize yours. And so, why shouldn't this be controversial? Now, I understand whenever I post this, it's probably going to be like, oh, wow, this is going to be extremely, vain and conceited. But I can understand why, because whenever I was researching for this video, I was looking at the other ones, and some of them were just looks are the most important thing, or, looks are deal breakers, or yada yada yada. I don't think that's healthy. Like I said before, I think the obsession with your looks is unhealthy. But I think generally wanting to look good and take care of yourself and, doing basic hygiene, because I think it's also, if you're a caring friend and you genuinely care about someone, be like, hey, you haven't washed your hair in a week. Are you doing good mentally? I think that's a fair question to ask. I think wanting to look good is like wanting to get that job that you wanted to get and you ended up getting it. Or wanting to learn a hobby. Or wanting to focus more on your social life. Focus more on your love life. Etc., etc., etc. It is just a facet of life. And there is nothing wrong with wanting to be good at it. Or wanting to at least apply some energy to it. If you have a positive view of yourself, whenever you look in the mirror and you like what you see, and you are taking care of your health and well-being, I don't see anything wrong with that. I do not see anything wrong with that at all. And I don't think anything is wrong if you want to look more conventionally attractive, but make sure it's because you want to look that way. If you want to look like a valley girl, look like a valley girl. Now, do I think you should be like rude or whatever? That doesn't mean every single person who looks like that is mean or whatever. Or if you want to get buff, you can want to get buff. I don't think you should do it to the extent in which it's going to lower your lifespan, but like you can get toned, you know? Get like mildly buff so that it doesn't like kill you early, you know? There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, and it's not based on what other people think you should be and who you should be. Oh my gosh. Alright, my mic. Wow! My mic started falling. Oh, wow. Great. So, we're gonna get real close and personal during this last bit. Hello. But if that's what you genuinely want, and it's not an outside thing of like, I want to do this to fit in, or I want to do this so that I can fulfill the expectations of other people and who I'm supposed to be in their eyes, then if you want to look like a valley girl, you can be the valley girl. Don't let your dreams be dreams. That's your prerogative, and I don't think anyone should stop your dreams of being the valley girl or being buff, as long as that's what you want to do. And if it's that you want to be a punk rock star look, or you want to look like a hippie, or you want to look like you came off of Broadway or off of the red carpet, that's your prerogative. That's what you want, but it has to be what you want, not what other people expect you to look like. Because it's most important to be able to look in the mirror, look at yourself and say, despite everything, it's still you. And you're taking care of you. And you look good. Alright, just an overview of the video today. I went into what I meant when I said it's not a sin to want to be attractive, and how that attractiveness, when I'm discussing it, I'm not discussing implants or Botox or any of the like, or any unhealthy obsessive relations to one's physical appearance and just the general upkeep and physical look of someone else, not someone else, and the physical look of another individual and how they perceive themselves on a regular basis. And then we went into some of the negatives of being perceived as unattractive, and the studies that showed that they often get paid less if you are perceived as unattractive, deemed or viewed as less intelligent, and then are given less attention, scientifically speaking, unfortunately, and how that's unfair. And then we talked about the positives of being able to be perceived as attractive in society, being paid more, being perceived as more intelligent, being given more attention, generally feeling like you have more control over your life, being less depressed, and having a better general overall well-being of oneself. And then one's relationship with appearance, and I went into my own personal anecdotes of my relationship with my appearance, and how, if you wanted to take anything away from my personal experience, that when you look in the mirror, you should like what you see, not what other people expect to see of you, regardless of your race, your gender, your sexuality, whatever it is. That should not be a determinant on what you want to look like. And you should be able to enjoy what version it is of yourself that you want to look like. And it's not a sin to wanna look good. Why it's so controversial and the societal implications of bringing up this topic to a friend in comparison to other, frankly, addictions out there. This is the Devil's Advocates podcast. If you haven't been here before, the point of this podcast is for you to be able to call in on this number at any time and we can debate a topic. And if you are too shy and you don't want to call in, you can use the Linktree that I have attached, and you can send me an email or you can send me forms. I can read off either of those at whichever next video that I have. And until I have callers, I'm going to keep making I'm going to keep making essay video format videos on topics that I have for 2 hours for you to be able to enjoy and to be able to witness when it's recording. And yeah, you can also find my other social medias on there. But anyways, I really enjoyed this video today. I enjoyed people being a part of it. I enjoy you watching it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Do whatever you want to. And this is Token. This is Theta. I hope you all have a good one. Token today, and this purgatory phase call in to create my number awaits.